Did you start?
Are you ready?
Back to you.
Ready? You are.
Yeah, just a few words. I know that we're running a bit late. Thank you so much for coming again. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel. There's 2 welcomes that have happened already today. So yeah, I just want to say that this is the Alumni Career Days, and this is a new initiative from the RSM Alumni Relations Office. And what we're trying to do is that we're trying to make career advice and career support more accessible to our alumni community. This is the last day of a full week of events, online session, career consultation that we've had. And we've had also this wonderful session on sustainable entrepreneurship. One of the reasons that we decided to organize this is because we have a lot of alumni coming to us, the Alumni Relations Office, asking us about how to build a startup, how to build a mission-driven startup. And yeah, we're not the best people to respond to that, but we know that we have a lot of alumni in our community that are. So that's why we decided to invite them, and we have quite some of them here. So I'm very, very happy about that. And also we have the Erasmus Enterprise helping us run through this session as well. So I want to thank them as well. So without further ado, I'll just pass it on to our wonderful moderator, who's also going to introduce the rest of the panelists. Yeah, Johanna Raats, and yeah, enjoy the session.
Yes, thanks. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, I have the honor to present to you today the Sustainable Entrepreneurship Panel, Driving Positive Climate Change by Innovation. And my name is Johanna Raats. I'm Marketing Communications Lead at Erasmus Enterprise. I'm not sure if you have seen any of the yellow buildings somewhere hidden on the campus here, but we are here to actually make entrepreneurial minds better, and we are actually also an entrance point for you to start a business. So having said that, maybe 2 small things about myself. I'm not a Dutch native speaker, but I do live here for a couple of years. So in my portfolio, I've got like 4 languages. I'm happy to try some of them during the networking drinks after you. And maybe I can see how I can also assist you along your journey when actually considering the entrepreneurial journey. After this session, hopefully you get inspired. So that's one of my facts, I would say. And then the second one is just talked about it with the panelists outside the door. So I live actually in the best cheese city of the country. I was wondering if you can guess which one that would be. Gouda. Yeah, I heard that already. Yeah, great. So yeah, Gouda is a super nice city for you to land as an expert. I can really say that I felt welcome for living in the country here in Gouda as well. And that's actually enough about me. Let's go into the topics of today. Yeah, we're not here for, no, you're not here for me today, I guess. And mainly here to actually hear some interesting speakers that actually came quite a long journey to move back to Rotterdam to just speak in front of. So this is actually here for you guys. You are here to reconnect. Maybe you've already seen a couple of familiar faces, someone you wanted to meet again after a long time. Maybe you're here to actually build new connections. And hopefully, and at least I hope so, at least personally myself, that I can actually learn something new from our panelists today. So with that in mind, I really want to encourage you as well to take this opportunity to ask questions, to hear firsthand what it means to build a sustainable company yourself. And just jump in, raise your hand and ask anything you want to ask during the session directly. And if I don't see you, because it's quite spread throughout this room, and just shout and make time for that. But 3 topics today, and after each topic, you also get the chance again to ask questions, but if there's anything in between, just run and tell me and feel free to just ask in between. And last but not least, it's quite a hot day, so you really chose a good day to be back on the campus. The campus looks beautiful today, but it's also extremely hot, so take good care of yourself, take water. I think there's also a bar outside. Don't feel distracted, but most important is that you're here to have fun as well and have a good time with us. That's, I guess, sufficient for maintenance, and I still have not, so that's a good moment for me to change the slides. And I actually skipped already the press introduction, so that's me, but you see me as well. Yeah, we already heard from Bruno actually quite nicely that we're here actually to facilitate a sustainable journey. And I'm not sure how long has it been, like who has studied here in like the last 5 years? Can I get some hands? Yeah, cool. That's most of you. So did you know, does anyone know what the core value of the Erasmus University is? Like, what's the mission? Okay, so I'm not sure if it's something that is unique or not, but I can clearly say when I actually applied for a job on the campus, I thought that's something I want to be part of. Yeah, I really came back to the campus in September and I thought amazing opportunities. There's a clear perspective, something we work together, and that's a unique opportunity for us. So just being here and reconnecting and making sure that we can all contribute to that change, right? And or even put it on the concrete on the outside of the walls to make sure we all memorize it and don't forget about it. That brings me to our dear guests. We've got a nice slide as well, but yeah, let's take an opportunity to give a warm round of applause as well to all our panelists today. They took a long journey, so let's start with a round of applause. I would very left, Katherine. Welcome back to Rotterdam. You're not new to this place, of course. You're the founder of Boon Bliss. And also, we have one thing in common, and I didn't know that before. You're also you coached at Erasmus Center for Entrepreneurship. So you have really something that you want to give back to the students, to people that are actually thinking about a career as an entrepreneur. Can you tell me what Boon Bliss is actually doing?
Yes, of course. First of all, I wanted to say it's so cool to be back in the campus and see such a diverse bunch of people, really diverse in nationality, ages, gender code. So that's great, and thank you for having me. I'm one of those crazy ones who built a very successful corporate career in a financial investment industry and dished it all for the sake of a startup. And indeed, so I've been I'm a graduate of OneMBA program in 2019, and that became a kind of a nudge for me to do what I really believe in. And Boon Bliss is a social fintech startup that we built for people who are sick and tired of the nonsense and waste of unwanted gifts. And our tool helps people fulfill dreams and invite friends and family to chip in what really matters for them. This is what we do.
Great, thanks for being here today, sharing your insights as well with the rest of us here. Let's move to Murat. Welcome also to the panel group. You're firsthand, you're not new to the building, you're professor at the RSM. You are expert innovation. You also lead the innovation actually of management within RSM, I think. But also you've got an entrepreneurial journey. So you started it yourself a couple of years back. So yeah, maybe, I'm not sure if do you have any familiar faces in the room here that you recognize from?
Yeah, some of them. I think they try to avoid me. But
we have to figure out why. So anything that you still want to ask, that's your chance today, right? So thanks for being here and sharing your skills as well from innovation, but also think back to your time to just share your own experiences as well. Then there's a challenging one. Next to Murat, we will have my Spanish skills, which are quite early. Jaime, welcome on stage as well today, part of the panel group here. You have loads of experience, and I had a look at your CV. You're a venture capitalist, advisor, you have private equity experience, but most recently, you actually started your own business with Carbon 13. That's an extensive journey, right? Can you recall, because I think your business is now in Berlin, but you hop on and off. So what was the last time you were actually here on the campus?
I was 4 years and a half ago.
When you graduated,
yeah.
Cool. So within 4.5 years, you had a quite extensive journey from venture capitalist to start your own business.
Yeah, well, even before, just to take you a little bit back, I've been a serial entrepreneur. So yeah. I ended up after working in private equity, I started my own business of businesses. So venture builder, I did a venture builder, which basically means that you're building other companies and more human companies plus consulting for startups.
Yeah.
So I was in clean energy, I was in the water, I was in the fashion, in sustainable fashion, I was in several tech businesses. So with that kind of gave me this purpose of really knowing how to do a business and really iterating and iterating. So but at the same time, we were doing too many things. So we had like 10 interns, we had a full plan of things, and this was 9 years ago. So we did a lot of cash burn, which in a business is like, if you're really just have a budget and are not winning too much money, we were winning equity of businesses, but not money. So then I decided to come here to do the MBA, to have a different, spend more money. I was like, I only have this money that I already did from before, because I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So I did a lot of money before starting this business, or a lot of money in at least a student life kind of sense. And yeah, like I ended up spending a lot of money in an MBA, but that gave me also different tools to say like, okay, I'm also prepared to start working in venture capital I did, and then working with venture capitals and private equities, fundraising for them. And then I ended up doing consulting for impact venture capitals. And then I was like, okay, I really want to start a scalable startup business that gives me technology. And I joined the program in that fundraise that gives you money, which is Carbon 13. And with this program, I started my own business, and we can talk more about it afterwards. Yes. But it's this business is pretty new. It's a month and a half old. So it's carbon capture out of enhanced rock weathering. But I can also talk a bit more about it. But
yes, please. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear your stories as well. You've got quite a long journey, and also deciding to start your own business. That drive. I'm curious if you can actually share some of your experience coming that way with the audience today as well. Last but not least, Laura, welcome. You also started your own business. You started a couple of years ago, and now you have a very mission-driven startup, Forward Inc., based in Amsterdam. Not sure if I can say that city actually too loud in this city here, but you've got a quite ambitious goal. Forward Inc. is actually helping refugees to start their own business. And you've got the goal to actually convert 4,000 people by 2026 running their own business. Wow, right? Like that's a target. How did you come up with the target, and how is it going for you?
Yeah, that's a funny question. So yesterday we had a strategy session also with our board. Like, how do we get there? I think what is really nice, yesterday we hit that milestone that we now have supported over 1,000 entrepreneurs up until now, and 116 have started their own business. Out of that, of which the survival rate is 94%. And again, we are completely sector agnostic, but we really focus on the target group, which is forcibly displaced people. The lines are quite blurry, right? You have people that are official asylum seekers, other people, they can make it if they're privileged enough as skilled experts, so it's not always so black and white, but we really focus on a target group of displaced people. And we run different programs and events, and we try our best to support the newcomers with everything that they need in order to get started, to grow, to launch, to fundraise as well. Because starting the business, especially in the Netherlands, if you jump through the hoops, that's not a tricky one, but to actually make money from it and live a good life and not burn yourself while doing it, I think it's a tricky part, yeah.
Well, we're going to hear more about it, obviously, through our topics, which is actually quite a nice link to the next slide that I presented to you today. We split this panel actually into 3 topics, and we're going to start with a basic, I would say, alignment of what we think sustainable entrepreneurship means. So we can all think, can make your own opinion about it. I don't want you to go out with this is a definition of it. Let's reflect like what we think sustainable entrepreneurship means. Then we're going to dive into building a mission-driven startup. What are the key steps? And I heard already when we were just talking outside the door, like challenges come already while building it. So that's a quite good link to the last topic of the session today when we look at overcoming challenges. That's a quite big topic for each one of us. And let's not be blind. Starting a business will come with challenges that we want to tackle as well. So hopefully by end of the session, we get as well a couple of handful of tips and tricks to run through it and also challenge you on your career decisions, where you stand today and where you would want to be when leaving this room, I heard from Katherine. So let's dive into this. Yeah. Now we know me, you know RSM most likely, you know for sure the panelists, but I don't know anything about you. I know that some of you have started the studies here less than 5 years ago, so that's quite recent, really nice. But I'm wondering, does any one of you has experience in working in a startup? Any hands? Less than 10. Yeah. Cool. And is anyone here that is currently actually considering to start a business? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One wave. Yeah. Curious to see the hands actually after the session. Let's do a check at the end of the session today. Because if you already have that in back of the mind, also knowing the panelists now, just try to make a link, something that you experienced by working in a startup. Just think about a moment where you were wondering, what is this decision, or why do they go that way instead of that way? We've got actually firsthand founders here as well that can share their experience when actually going through those challenges, when they make decisions that might be not clear to the rest of the people. Take the time about when we go through the agenda topics today to ask your questions as well. And then we're going to dive into the first topic. Ready for it? And I have to cheat a little bit because honestly, I'm not a dictionary. So I have a lot of knowledge of marketing and communications, and I can tell you about how to apply a digital campaign maybe. Yeah. But I just challenged myself, like, what would I use to understand what it means? And I had to realize I would probably go to ChatGPT these days. So let me read out this short description of what ChatGPT thinks sustainable entrepreneurship means. Sustainable entrepreneurship refers to the practice of creating and managing businesses that prioritize not only economic success, but also social and environmental impact. So far, so good, right? They strive for innovation, responsible resource management, ethical business practices, and positive societal change, all with the goal of achieving a more sustainable and equitable future. It sounds quite good, right? But also quite heavy. So I think I want to turn now, the floor to you and actually ask firsthand you, Katherine, starting from the left, actually. What does sustainable entrepreneurship mean to you?
Now, let me a little bit be more pragmatic than ChatGPT. I like the drill of the 3 Ps. This is the people, planet, profit. And for me, this I developed this framework quite some time ago, but I think that's only now I realize what it means really. And for my decision that I took to switch and to pivot, like Bruno says, to switch and pivot my corporate career and actually have this triangle in the center of the startup that I'm building. So people, planet, profits, and I think in the corporate world, corporate by definition is already an established institution that is running for profits mostly. And so you don't have any questions about the third pillar of that. Planet, with a little bit of greenwashing here and there. So I think everybody is now moving towards the sustainability goals and sustainable business. So for me, working for an investment management firm, I really, at a certain moment, started to ask questions to myself. Okay, what do I really do for people? I'm closing companies, I'm merging companies. I was doing mergers, acquisitions, regulatory projects, implementing a new derivative structure. And I was thinking, wait a second, I spent the year of my life, but what did I really do? And that became a niche where I started my search. And so in the startup that we're building, so it's also interesting to see that I started it because of people. I saw the opportunity, I saw the pain, and I thought, okay, I really want people to live fulfilling life and focus not on this bullshit that we exchange with each other, and but really to also stop the nonsense and waste. So these people on planet, I think I forgot profit basically, because if you want to survive as a startup, you need to take care of that. You need to have money and to be able to make money. So, and basically this continuous balance between the two is the art. And then this is for me, these 3 keys.
Yeah. nice methodology to look at it. And if you tackle all of them, that works for you, right? Nice. I want to turn actually to Jaime. You are a venture capitalist as well. You have a lot of experience in advising people that have ideas that actually want to run their business. What would you say is actually a great, venture capitalist or startup idea that you came across and that would stand for you out? Like, did you see anything in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years that stood out to you?
Yeah, I think as a sustainable startup, also starting from there is like, it's a startup, it's a business, so it has to be quite scalable. So that's at the end of seeing it in a venture side, venture capital side is always the side of like, well, it has to make profit, has the sustainable side, but also has to have impact. So that's also the beauty about the impact venture capital, that it's measuring other sides also. So it's measuring how many jobs it can produce, how much carbon dioxide it's going to take from the air, like, and many other factors, which is also pretty interesting, that now a bit of this philanthropic money is going to this part also, that is like, okay, we can also make a change in the world. And there's many types of sustainable startups that are happening now. And also it's like a part of like reduction. These can be super simple ideas of, instead of, for example, keeping hot weather or warm climates inside a building. Like, so things of reducing stuff. I think that's like the 7 R's. I think in circularity also, it's like, that's very important. And I think people are trying to notice that there's also profits to make around there. And I think all sectors will change in this upcoming years to be more sustainable. If you want it or not, ESG is one of the topics that have been around in the last years, but ESG has also its own limits. And it has been a lot of greenwashing around big corporates that are saying like, oh, I just want to put this because of the sake of it. But now new methodologies are happening and really measuring things different. So you have to always think like, how can I actually create the most impact? And this is when it gets interesting also in the venture capital side. It's like, okay, is it going to be scalable? Is it actually going to grow? Is it actually has a market? And usually in the venture capital side is how much the market is going to grow. So that's the very interesting part that you really have to cultivate of like, okay, if I start a business, or even maybe not all of you want to start a business, but change careers. So if you want to change careers, is like, what is the future career that you want to be there in 5-10 years because the market is growing a certain perspective, and that's venture capital side. So like if you're thinking as a venture capitalist, they're not investing in what you're now, but what you're going to be in the next 10 years. So invest in yourself, that's part of it, and invest in things that will make a change. And for me, climate is one of the most important parts because there is no planet B. So in this sense, it's like we have to do something around that. And what are the solutions? Like all the companies right now are going to object to like 2030s, 2050s, but a lot of things are not happening. So obviously there's going to be this rush out of sustainable startups that have to happen. So that's how I see it.
Which is quite a nice link actually to innovation.
Yeah.
So I want to turn actually to Murat. He's actually, you're an expert in innovation. Can you see there's a link between sustainable entrepreneurship and innovation?
Certainly. When we talk about entrepreneurship, actually, it comes from the Austrian school. You heard about Schumpeter and creative destruction, and destruction we have done a lot of it. Now, the core idea is that entrepreneurs can create something, change the rules of the game, and it's time for sustainable construction. And this can be done through entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs like you to make the world a better place. One party that we shouldn't forget is also the employees. So this is a journey that you cannot take alone, and you shouldn't be taking on alone. You should need to think about how can you lure in employees or partners to join you. We recently did a study on this. let me ask you, how many of you want to make the world a better place? And how many of you have applied to a startup trying to make a world a better place? So those people who put their hands down, David, why didn't you apply to a startup trying to make a world a better place?
Well, because I didn't look for a job in there.
Why not?
Because also my company does a sustainable solution for crops, and it's already in the sustainable business. And I think that I'm creating an impact on that.
That's very nice. And this is the part that we find out in the study. Basically, when it comes to existing companies, you get a lot of perks, career, salary, job security, and on top of that, you get the purpose. If the company is trying to make the world a better place. But for entrepreneurship, it's very hard. You don't offer any of these or many of these advantages, and you use them to substitute, you use the purpose to substitute lack of them. So going back to your question, the world can become a better place through entrepreneurship and sustainable construction, and through employees doing the startups, not only entrepreneurs themselves.
Yes, you actually relate to that, Laura. You also have Forward Inc. You've got a team as well around you. Do you think, and how do you actually bring people on board? That's maybe a good question. It's not on my script, but it's
But to react more directly to what Murat said, I think this is something that also really frustrates me if I look around my friends. Like, I mean, I love my friends a lot. And we did SAMS and we studied international management. And I think a lot has changed at RSM. But when I did SAMS, no one talked about entrepreneurship. It was either you go into the big three consultancies or fast moving like Procter & Gamble or Unilever. That was basically it. And you see these most talented people, my friends, going into BCG and consulting Rio Tinto on how they can get rid of unions in South Africa, you know? And I just find that so like, man, you're such a nice person and I love you, but you're such an asshole in your day-to-day job, you know? And I just always say to my friends, imagine all of these crazy corporate business and profit-oriented people would actually do something somewhat sustainable, like, you know, there would be already a lot less to worry about.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, this is just something that I personally sometimes don't understand. But with Forward Inc., yeah, I mean, employees, you know, it's really tough in a startup, and I'm not really like a startup by definition, but we are like a foundation. So we need to do continuous fundraising like a startup, but then at the end of the day, we are not for profit. So for example, I don't have any equity, right? Because in the Netherlands, a foundation belongs to society. So no one owns it. And it's sometimes hard because people then join the team for the mission and the purpose, not necessarily for the salary. And that can also lead to a lot of toxicity, I would say, because they expect so much from you as a founder, and you become their mother, their father, their friend, their personal animator. And it's just, you know, like, I cannot give bonuses. I cannot, you know, we have KPIs and all of that. And at the end of the year, we have performance reviews and we do 360 feedback. But yeah, we don't have that vehicle. And also my board is also a pain in the ass because they just say, yeah, but everyone works for you for the mission. Who cares about salary? You know, I'm like, yeah, but people need to live, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we try, because I think that the people should be well paid, that actually do something, you know, that is good. And
you should take a leap out of ChatGPT, right? You have a foundation that does non-profit stuff, and you have some section of that is profitable, and that makes the money that allows you to make, for example, ChatGPT helps OpenAI do.
Yeah, but I want to stay, like in the beginning, because I have business background, when we started with the foundation, I didn't like that it was a foundation. I wanted to have something that, you know, I could take equity and fast growth, and but now I don't want to. I want to be 100% not for profit, because that keeps our slate clean. People trust us. they know I don't have any personal gain. I just do it because I don't know, like, you know, I love it, but I'm not financially interested at all. So I think now it has become our strength.
Also a good choice, right? You make your choice along the way, which we will actually elaborate a bit more in our second topic of the agenda when we dive into the steps of building a startup, or actually a mission-driven startup in that sense, but that you already consider, like, what route do I take? It's probably one of them, and maybe we can talk about it more in a bit. We've heard a lot about different definitions of what sustainable entrepreneurship means. And I'm wondering, like, do you have any question about what sustainable entrepreneurship means? Do you have any views on that? Anything that you want to ask? I see one hand.
Yeah, so maybe I have one question more. I'm not sure what his name is.
What?
Yeah, no, kid, the guy next to me.
Jaime.
Yeah, so for me, entrepreneurship is all about starting and growing something, and you need investments to grow it. And then as soon as investments come in, there will be a financial perspective to things. So as long as sustainable is about profit, then we're all into sustainable entrepreneurship. But if there's no profit and you're just doing something to make the planet a better place, then it becomes a little bit harder, right? And then I can see why people move to consulting companies, because they can make money there, and you have to do it out of the notion that you want to add something to the world. So how do you cope with that? The financial perspective, because if somebody pitches an idea and says, we're not going to be financial viable for the next 30 years, you probably won't invest, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, at the end, I think kind of a foundation is there for a certain perspective, but startups are there for innovation of something for the future. So I think if a startup is there for the future and it has to survive year by year, it really has to be scalable and growing. Because I actually am more into the profit side, based that it will keep on making money to grow and make more impact. A foundation, sometimes it depends, but it will just maintain as a consulting company could be, but that it already has this amount of money and it will keep on growing the same way unless and then it could also die. So, but also foundations can be amazing, because then the purpose of like making money out of immigrants, that's not the idea, right? So at the end of the day, so it's like it can also help a part of society. So I think both live in the same environment for sure.
Yeah, maybe I could build on that. I think that's also the perspective that I got in part of my fundraising experience is basically you should realize that those funds and those private equities are same startups. They also need to raise money and promise returns. And so these are all those limited partners and companies who invest for example, in a pension fund. They need to pay pensions and return this money with an interest several years. So I think that we won't go away from the fact that even though you focus on sustainability, you need to find, and this is exactly the trick and the art and the difficulty and the challenge, to find this viable business model that survives and to sing your song so hard and so nicely that people believe in you. So even if you are not making money today and tomorrow and in 3 years, that in 5 years you would do. And you need to show the small steps and keep showing them so consistently and relentlessly for that amount of money that you spend, that they trust you. And I think I also believe I see the startups who got $1 million because they got lucky and they burned it all in just half a year, you know, just having a beautiful startup life. But I also see entrepreneurs who are doing magic with that money in their pocket, or even without it. And I think that keeps you, like when you are thirsty and hungry, that makes magic.
I'm curious to hear more about the magic. Maybe you can share your magic tricks with us as well later during the drinks. So yeah, if you have any more questions, I don't think that there were any hands raised a second ago, but all of us, including myself, will be here around for a couple more minutes after, also during the networking drinks, to also give you personal tips or things that you don't want to ask in this big round here, because I think we all agree we want a bit of this magic that we can take with us when we embark our next steps in the career.
There was one extra question.
Oh yeah, yes.
Thank you. Actually, this is a question I would like to ask Laura, because you're having basically a nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
And then, so which type of HR system you're having to?
No, but like, I don't know, I saw this meme on Instagram and it said something like, don't let yourself be burned by a corporate, do it at a startup where the HR department is the founder, or something like this. So, but yeah, this is of course also a problem. But to just go back to the raising money, I think a lot of us, also when I was studying, I had a lot of these like self-limiting beliefs. And I thought my locus of control was external, right? Like life is happening to me in a way, and I need to fit into a structure. And since I'm at Forward, I have a way more internal locus of control where I'm like, of course, I have a certain level of privilege that I could do this, and my parents supported me for the first 6 months. But if some of you also have these self-limiting beliefs, like I managed to raise 1.5 million for this year with not promising any type of financial return, just impact. So what my message with this is, there is so much money in this world. You can raise money. That's really not a problem, the raising the money. And so there is enough money, I think, for everyone. How it is spent and utilized is the problem. Yeah.
I think answer your question.
Oh, HR, we wanted to know. Yeah.
The why behind it, yes, but
So the question was, who is HR?
no, how did you arrange your HR in the nonprofit?
Yeah, so I really have to say, like, LinkedIn for recruitment works really well for us. Like, we post our jobs there, we give like €5 per day budget, and we receive like for internships on average, like over 200 applications. But that is, of course, also showing that so many students and young people nowadays are interested in what we do. So that's really great. And then, yeah, we just have like, we now have structures for interview process. Also, people need to do a case, and it's 2 to 3 rounds, depending on the position. And then we have like, weekly one-on-ones, 360 feedback every quarter, and like appraisal. And so we do have that in place. And I do think that compared to other startups, that we actually do a good job with that, if I can say so myself. But you would need to talk to other people in the team. Yeah, I don't know if
That's one side of it's. There are probably multiple sides to it as well, and how you can. I think that's a nice one as well, and a good link for us actually to dive into the next topics when we actually want to elaborate a bit more of how we can actually build this startup. We've got this idea. What do we have to do in order to actually get to our startup? Skip 2 slides because I missed to change it. And I want to start this session, the second topic of this session, building a mission-driven startup, with a quite inspiring video that I just saw last week during one of the events that we were running for Erasmus Enterprise. Tech will work and sound responsible.
Independence. The dictionary defines it as the ability to live your life without being helped or influenced by others.
It could also mean the ability to discover a whole new recipe.
Chicken and pumpkin soup.
Ingredients.
It could also mean submitting an assignment just before the deadline.
It could be sharing a laugh with a colleague near the coffee machine.
Looks like Alex from finance.
To step out for some fresh air and roam the streets without any worry.
Looks like a body of water running through a grassy field.
Or just managing to catch that train during rush hour.
41, Sprinter, Amsterdam Central, by Maria Hof.
To be able to sort and read my own letters.
Credit card statement, Post Box 289.
To be able to walk quickly into my favorite local store.
Mango chutney.
It is to know that when I get stuck, I have people to call upon. Hey, yes, sir. Where are you? Hey there. There seems to be a roadblock here. Can you help me out?
Can I help you out? Do you want to use like a roadmap or something?
Okay, wait, I'll share my location.
All hands meeting, 2 or 3 meeting on.
You look 3.
To be surrounded by great people and be surprised by their love.
Looks like a birthday cake with lit candles.
To cook my favorite meal that my lovely family can't get enough of.
To push my physical limits. To move, to jump, to punch, and to feel alive.
Wish you the happiest year ahead.
To be me. To be Parham Dusta.
To be me, to be Jesse Wienold.
To be me, to be joy.
Using Envision glasses, the new AI-powered smart glasses by Envision, empowering the blind and visually impaired to be more independent. Available for pre-order now.
I don't know what it does with you, but to me at least, it really touched my heart. And even though I don't know anyone in my surrounding, I can only imagine what it means to actually get access to something that you do not have, and it would actually impact quite a big chunk of people, right? So with that in mind, we're not going to dive into Envision too much today, but I want to turn around again and actually ask Laura is writing notes right now. But Laura, you had your mission as well. You had the idea of this is what I want to change. Can you bring us on the journey when you first time thought this is something I want to do and I want to invest my time into, to actually being now, co-founder or managing director at Forwarding?
So I don't know if you remember, but I think it was in 2015, there was this attack in Paris in the Bataclan, where terrorists, they killed over 100 people at this concert. And I don't know why, but it really did something with me. My ex-boyfriend back then was also in Paris, and there was a game, France, I think, against Germany, and a bomb also outside went up, and he was in the stadium and he didn't have his phone, so I didn't hear from him for 3 days over the roof. And I was in Taiwan on exchange, and I just had these nightmares every night, and I just realized that all of these refugees are fleeing from these people. And we here in Europe treat them like shit, or say, oh, you are all value seekers and, you're just profiting off our hard-earned money. And since then, I was always like, I don't know, it was such a revelation to me, like this ISIS, like that's what people were fleeing from, to be safe here. And so that didn't, let me go. And then when I did my master, my study peer, Diederik, he had the idea actually to start a student fund that would invest in refugee-led businesses. And so he started with that idea. And then we started to talk more, and he said, I did like market research and we're looking left and right, but there are not that many innovative refugee-started businesses in the Netherlands as of yet. And so that's how we did a pivot and thought, why don't we then create the environment to start innovative refugee-led businesses? So that's how it started. And then one afternoon we were sitting together and we created our incubator program. And I think that's also the thing with entrepreneurship, the nice thing is it doesn't have to be perfect, but you just need to go for it and to not be so perfectionistic, which I was really taught here, to be perfectionistic and try to get, high grades. But in entrepreneurship, it's you need to be more pragmatic. And I really love that about it.
Thanks for sharing. And about practical steps, from the idea, what did you do then next? You just mentioned the incubator program that you run out. What can you recall, what were the first steps to actually go into the foundation?
So also, of course, raising money. So we did first a Kickstarter to get 5,000 euros. And then we started to slowly apply for social impact, investors, so that they invest for impact and not financial return. And we registered the not-for-profit. And we were also very lucky. I think we were at the right place at the right moment. And because we were so young in a way and still students, also RSM always has really supported us with connecting us to coaches and mentors. And then yeah, so we just, went from that first 5,000 euros to like step by step. I mean, it's not this hockey stick growth, that VCs like to see, but every year we are growing our budget, our team, our impact. But yeah, the beginning is really, you take a camera and you film yourself saying, hey, we believe that refugees are value creators and not value seekers, and let's help them start a business, Yeah. And I love that about the Netherlands because people tend to be quite pragmatic. And if you tell them, hey, if you allow people to start a business, then they don't need social welfare. And now we save the Dutch government over 11 million per year in welfare spending because we support people in leaving. So even people that vote VVD are like, that makes sense, It's like, yeah.
Nice. And maybe turning to Katherine as well on that topic. Like, what is your advice? And what steps, if you have this idea, where did you start back in? We're still in a job, but you really want to do something else?
Yeah, I would say that probably the first and the most important part is to find a topic that makes your heart really tick. And why is that? Because after you start, everything would go wrong and not as you planned. And only this kind of tick in your heart will keep you going when you are getting the 100th time a no. And this is really what makes you stand up and still go for it. This I really believe it. And I hear that also in the voice of Laura when you're saying that. And another important part is that if you realize this topic and you believe that you are, probably need to study a little bit more of this topic or need to kind of get a little bit more of this education on the course, don't think about how, think about what and who you will meet to build that with you. I told you, start singing the song, you will be surprised that you will find those people who want the same. And slowly you will get them around and just think about who will solve it, not how yet. So, and just this will get you much further. I would say, and of course, then you talk about to begin, start with the first step. Don't die in this analysis paralysis phase. This is what I learned also. If you look at the statistics, it's basically the millionaires and the most successful entrepreneurs, they didn't have a higher education. Because like what the people with higher education tend to do, they overanalyze. They see so many risks that they would never start. It's like half of those risks would never, like 100% of those risks would never materialize, and others would do. And I think just if you really keep researching, you will never start. Make that first step. You go into the small hill and then you see much more, and then you go to another hill. Don't think that you will start and then this will be your choice forever. Be ready to play that game, step back, go another route. I think this is what I learned, that I've done this course and that training and that deep dive and MBA and this and that. And now I'm thinking, what the hell? Why haven't I started 10 years ago? I would be so much wiser now. Like, I think this is, yes.
Can I ask you one personal question? Because somebody told me once, if you really want to be an entrepreneur, it's better to spend the 50K on starting your business than doing an MBA. So is that
like my employer helped me, but what MBA did with me personally, so I came to MBA because I saw so many things that I don't know yet. I thought I was maybe, I don't know yet marketing. I don't know marketing. I work in the financial industry, but I never studied finance, and I thought I will come with gaps. But what I learned while studying here is basically, I feel these gaps, yes, but I learned that I could have done without that too. Because whatever I learned from marketing here, the world has changed in that now. And I have to try a gazillion of other guerrilla things, not these kind of beautiful methodologies about how you run your marketing campaigns with $1 million of budget. So, I mean, and then you will hire those people who have done MBA, right? This is if you're on the right track. So I think MBA for me played a pivotal role in believing in myself and understanding also. I met a lot of people who were so open to me to say, okay, I actually have no clue what I'm doing here, but I'm still doing it. It's like, I could do this as well. So I really started to get myself ready for the step and finally jump out of my golden cage. So in my example.
It's a unique journey in the end, and something that you cannot yourself. You just mentioned as well the collaboration. And actually, that's one that I want to give back to Murat as well. But you put collaboration actually as well at the heart of innovation. You cannot change and drive innovation by yourself. How does collaborating in a startup impact the journey? When, I don't know, I think we had one hand already here in the team that wants to actually start a company. Who do they look out for? How does it impact their journey when thinking about collaborating with external partners?
Certainly. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, you never do it alone and you never do it at once. As you have highlighted, you need other partners, especially when it comes to sustainable entrepreneurship, social ventures. Because solving these big problems requires collective effort. Let me give you an example. Let's assume that I have this idea of creating fully recycled circular economy managed bottle. And I go to Sam. That's what we teach in entrepreneurship class. We call green startup. I have a new viable product. And I'm gonna test it with Sam. Sam, would you like to buy it? It depends. It's a good price. It comes just for you. Now, what we teach with lean startup is that through this iterative moment, we resolve the uncertainty about demand. There is demand, but we forget about the fact that for me to produce and deliver this, I need many, many other partners, companies. So going back to your partnership question, the same exercise I did with Sam, you need to do it with other partners as well. What is the value that you are generating for these partners? Laura talked about, for example, finding out these key players who aspire for similar goals, creating impact, and then showing that actually your startup idea has value for them. Only through this collective effort you can solve the problems that you want to solve.
Together is the one. Take that as that will bring us definitely further. Jaime, you see loads of going back to your advisory role, you've seen loads of companies starting a business, coming to you, knock at the door, and actually trying to get funding. What would you say? What did you learn from it, or what would you want to give as well to the audience in terms of do it, start, stop, and change when you actually ask for money?
Yeah, I think it's always when you're doing a company is thinking in five things, especially is like, one is your idea, and also mostly of all the ideas exist somewhere. So that's it doesn't have to be such a special idea that it's just, oh, no one has ever thought about it, but just doing it. So that's one of it. The market size, I think it's always about thinking about how big the market is. Can it actually replicate and be scalable? I think one of them is stats. The other thing that we're also touching is like customers. I think when you're doing a business, it's not like writing it down months, 6 months, writing a business plan and everything, but it's actually talking with the people. So the research part is like one of the most important parts that can actually change a whole product. I experience with people that have been working in an app for 6 months or a year, and then they go to their customer and the customer feedback is like, oh, that's not what I needed. So they have to start over. And it's like, that curve is really bad. So it really can change a lot of things. Really,
what do you do when you see them? Like, do you send them back home and ask them to do their job, talk to the clients? What do you do?
So it's people have their customer feedback. So people have to talk with people and say like, okay, I already have this person that wants to buy me this. For example, if you're an investor, it's always like, oh, do you have LOIs, which is letter of intents of buying. So it's like, if a person has this, it means like they have done their job. They don't even have the product, but they have something that they will sell. So that's in the investment side, that's always the case, So it's that's one. So it's always this customer feedback is pretty important to build the correct product before you start building. And yeah, I just want to touch something else that is when you're starting a new business is not having everything in your head, because like sometimes it's like, it's so easy to have something perfect in your head, but once you're in the practice side, it's so much different. So that's also why it's good to talk with the customers, start doing it, see how easy it is actually to do, and then like starting to do that. Yeah, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask something about what you just meant with the customers with the app. So you want to be as early as possible to show them an MVP that they actually want to get feedback on, so you don't like things you find out later. But how does that work? Because with customers, you have a lot of them, so you can spend a few to show your app and you can iterate on it. But what if you seek for specific key partners that you only have a few of? Like for instance, you want to collaborate with a specific municipality, there are only 3 good people to talk with. How far do you go before you do your MVP to show something that looks nice already? But don't spend too much time. How would you see that differently when there's a small component?
Yeah, so sometimes, yeah, I think you work with low code. So it's like really have a very simple thing. You don't have to have the end of the product. So it's like something that could convince them and try to see like, okay, this could convince you and this is a problem. Sometimes you don't even have to come with, oh, I want this from you, but asking about their problem. So that takes me to the next thing is like understanding their problem and talking with them. Because municipalities sometimes have like, oh, there we have all these problems. So what of these problems you can actually fit based on your questions? So I think that's sometimes it's not just like, oh, it's a customer. Yes, it's a future customer, but you can understand him first to be able to build the app for them, for example. So it's really this iteration process, and it's like, oh, once you have the next step, you again talk with them. So it's about building around that problem.
And so you don't see a key difference in what you have with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's like,
as fast as possible.
I think it's focusing on the potential customers, not like any type of person that will tell you that they don't know. And that's also about hearing opinions. Like even when you're going to a new business, is like hearing the key opinions of people who will use it. That's so much more important. Like I think there's an app that's called like Superhuman. I think he only focuses on the 10% of his customers. He has all the customers with the true early adopters that really need it. And he hears those 10%. Yeah. And then he iterates so much around that to actually build something bigger. So not all your customers have to be good, but really those select ones.
I just wanted to add on that. I think we are talking here about MVP. And I think the reality of the startup life today that you need even to be prior to MVP, you need to sell before build. And probably a little bit difficult with consumer products, but with business products, there are these growth hacks. Like once there is an existing like proposition for businesses that you think is basically crap, but you think you can do it better by adding these features. So what my fellow entrepreneurs were doing, that they had this idea, they were building zero. They basically created an account on there. They called customers who they think they would be able to sell their new thing. And they say, oh, this is what we built. We are thinking of adding additional features here. What do you think? They made 10 calls and they realized that nobody wanted to buy these additional features either. They were not hot with it. They were not interested. So they said, okay, that was a better deal. Let's ditch it. So imagine if they would have started building it, raising money, hiring developers, even doing a prototype with a designer, but they just used their like a third-party product, which is public, and they tried it in an evening. So this is like this ninja style how you need to think.
And just the last thing is like kind of building up on that is like being creative. I think that's one of the important parts of like really using what you have, because even if you're building a product, even if it's a hardware thing, a lot of things have already existed. So putting something together, not trying to build from 0 to 100, but if you just put things together, you will find a product that is very interesting to have. So that's also like yesterday I was in a green tech conference and literally one of the entrepreneurs was this, like he was like, well, everything exists. You just have to put it together and then sell the software, because like on this side of it, like the software is the value add, but then it's also software and hardware. So if you're putting something together, then that's what it is. And yeah, you don't need the best. And also being creative in these situations, something also sparked in my mind. For example, another entrepreneur told me like, you put 3 web pages and then you start selling different products without even having anything. People put buy and then you will see until the person puts buy and then you put like coming soon.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes.
like,
This is
you,
very actually.
you can be creative on
Yeah.
not having a product.
Yeah.
Nice, I like that as well, and actually links us to our next chapter. You know, what you've learned throughout this second topic of the session today is that the journey is definitely not linear. And I think from my end, being an employee at Erasmus Enterprise, I can only sign that one. You know, you've got your idea, take the time after the session as well to pitch your idea and just validate whether your idea makes sense, and just challenge us as well, get straight away feedback of what you had in mind, whether that makes sense, if you consider an entrepreneurial journey as well. And then I saw a lot of people taking notes as well, but there's also guideline, right? There's you can Google online, but we also at Erasmus Enterprise give like handbooks out with like the key steps, and we differentiate from the ideation phase to actually the funding part. And don't be ashamed to just come by and walk by on the campus as well and knock at the door to ask for help if you need it. And I think that's also the advice that I hear back. Just ask around you, talk to the people about the ideas that you have, and find out whether the idea that you had in mind is actually something that is worth bringing into practice. I'm just checking at the time because we're also good. Yeah, do we have time for a question? Yeah. Are there any questions on the? Yes.
Yes, I had a question for Katherine actually, because I really like what you said about not trying to figure out how to do it, but who can do it. But I was wondering, how did you find the first people to collaborate with? Could you hire someone, maybe hire services, or did you find someone who had the same goal as you? And how did that work for you?
Dangerous question, don't get me started. But I think that like I can tell you we were talking about funding. My very first, like when I first got my idea and I realized that a month later it still keeps me awake, I started to put it all together on some slides, talk to people around. I basically I thought, okay, who are the greatest people from my network who can give me honest feedback with this. I just, let's keep those corporates. Let's think, okay, I just had an entrepreneur here, a good young student here. So just really diverse audience from my target audience, from my network, MBA students, fellow students. So I brought them all in one room and I just pitched. I said, okay, what do you think? Does it make sense? Am I looking something? And actually, it was very interesting that 2 of those people who I never even considered as angel investors, they said, okay, that looks really cool. Are you going to start? Can I invest? And I was like, what? I was not searching even for money. And then I was talking to another friend of mine, I knew that he's an angel investor, but I will never dare to ask money from my friends, but I could ask for an advice. And I started to talk to him. Okay, look at my pitch deck. I'm about to start raising. He said, do you need help? I would like to help you. I like what you do. I know you. I trust you. So I want to help you. And that was for me quite mind-blowing to realize that once you start getting this out and making steps, this is what I was saying, that people start getting around you. I was making it very difficult for myself because I was thinking, wow, I read that nobody invests in solo entrepreneurs. So let's find, whom do I need? I need somebody with marketing. Let's find out someone around me. So, and I started to look for a co-founder. So I got a co-founder from a group of my, like also fellow MBA students. And I was voicing out, okay, how do you do this? How would I cover this point from the start? And she started to give it tips. And do you want me to facilitate that meeting for you? And then someone said, you know what? If I would think of someone who would really help me with this, it probably would be you. Would you want to get on board? And she said, yes. Well, we divorced after that. It doesn't matter. But like it was a year of building together with the person who is knowledgeable in certain fields. And then, so actually, and a lot of assumptions that I had, I also read well, you don't need any husband or wife to start your business with, because nobody would invest in you. And I was thinking, oh Jesus, my husband actually is a great developer and he loves helping me and he loves the idea, but I shouldn't have him. So let me hire someone, let me ask him advice, because then I read that nobody invests in the co-founders who are husbands and wives. Well, how it ended up a year and a half later is that he looked what others were building for me, though these were the greatest people I thought I could find, and he approved. But then he said, you know, like we are building a financial product. We are storing and basically changing the ownership, beneficiary ownership of third-party money is a serious business at the back of our app. And it's like, they missed out here. They missed out. I'm really uncomfortable with they're building with you. So he had to jump in and build for me. And you know what? Like during 2 years, nobody asked what is our relationship between the founders. Like I was making so much difficult for myself by trying to prevent all these weird questions, but nobody ever asked. So maybe they will still, but we're already much further. Come on. So, and this is what I mean by like, stop researching, stop reading, just think, look around, grab the best what you can today, and keep doing the best of what you can reach every day. And that will kind of evolve, change. Nice. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Are there more questions?
There's one here.
Yes.
So you were talking this entire time about starting an enterprise and things like that, but the topic here is about sustainable entrepreneurship, right? So once you start the enterprise, how do you maintain that idea of ethics of people in business and kind of profit while also being sustainable? How do you keep that in mind when you're doing the business?
That question, you hear it? Oh, yeah.
I was just talking right now. So.
Right. I think it's always with the mission, right? If you have a mission that it's sustainable already, you have to drive to that mission. So with all the people, with anyone that you will have anyways, it's both ways. Even if you have funding, like the funding kind of it just makes you work harder or putting you more pressure in some type of way. Sometimes it's not the alignment of purpose is not the same. Because sometimes as a founder, you want this as a longer term, and as an investor, they want it as a shorter term profits. So then that alignment also you have to think about even the angels at the start, like what kind of people you want to be surrounded, because even as a person, like they have this thing of like the people that surround you make you who you are. Even in the investor world, it's like whoever is your angels will help you in a certain perspective to keep you in being more sustainable, or being even more greenwashing, maybe if you have like someone who just wants profits. So really trying to target that vision of like, okay, this is my metrics that I want to keep on building. And that's sometimes a problem with profits. For example, if it's like, oh, if it's just about making money, that's one side of it. But in reality, you always have to have a vision of this is what I want to build, to make a purpose, to have a change, to do something about it. But someone wants to add up.
Yeah, I think that like your question brings me back to this people, planet, profit, and it won't be a walk in the park. You will keep searching for this balance, because there will be certain things that will kind of drag you. You like with people, for example, we are talking not only about serving people, we are also working about people who work for you. As a founder, you will need to be cruel sometimes. You will need to hire fast, but fire faster. So this is about people. You need, of course, you could ethically shape it and wrap it in your own way, but you will need to make hard decisions. In our case, for example, for example, we are always startups by definition are always lacking money, and this you always operate on kind of this underwater breath holding technique. And then there is somebody coming up and saying, hey, like in our case, we want to kill the gift cards. We believe that they are stealing people money. This is like there's a 400 billion market, 1/3 of it never get redeemed. and retailers get it into the pockets, and everybody kind of like it remains a little bit on the surface. They don't talk a lot about it. We want to change that. And then there is somebody coming and said, you know what? I think it would be very interesting to invest in you if you will because you need to make profit earlier than you planned. So if you connect gift cards and start offering them as part of your platform as an alternative, I think it will give you the very quick kind of revenue stream, and you will find very easily people who would invest. And I said, I'm sorry, it was a difficult question, a difficult decision, but you say no, I don't want to support that, even if that helps me to survive. So I have to find other ways. So, and this is where you will need, I think you will face it many times in your journey. And every time, and I keep coming back, but how do you do this? I think once you define it on a mission and make sure that you measure it also. And because once you measure it, every time that you are taking decisions, it should be part of your processes in the company. It should be part of your decision making, but it should be also KPIs of your employees, so they have the right North Star in their decision making. There are a lot of cheating practices to make a lot of downloads of the app. But if you promise a person download it and I will give you 1 million free, you will get a lot of downloads. Come on, it won't be an issue. But you want quality users. So how do you steer your team towards honest KPI so that you define them together in such a way that they resonate with, support your mission? This is the daily job of a founder or a manager within the company startup.
I do see there are more questions in the audience as well, but I'm afraid we're also running a bit out of time. Just to keep everyone also brains up and refreshed, and we're going to have break after. And ask you to park your idea and just continue the conversation after with Katherine. She's going to stay here with us and be happy. I'm sure you'll be happy to answer all additional questions. The journey is definitely not linear. You speak to your partners around you, talk to anyone you can get, talk to us, connect with the people around you. Just check as well where you are in your career as well at the minute. And I think we heard one quite interesting part as well. Also think about the collaboration when you actually consider your journey. That brings me actually to the last topic of today, which is focus on overcoming challenges that you will face. We already heard a couple of examples about people and how you could actually run into challenging recruitment questions, how to process HR as well. And at Erasmus Enterprise, we recently also evaluated what would we need actually on our ecosystem, who would we want to partner with. And we started a collaboration with iPhone. They offer consultancy for data, finance, business, whatever, quite a broad range. And they have quite an interesting approach of overcoming challenges internally with their employees. And I just want to share this.
Hoi, ik ben Noeske Fontijn, Olympisch bokser en spreker en talentcoach bij Eifel. Ik deel mijn lessen uit de topsport met Eifelaars en ik coach ze in hun carrière bij Eifel. Hoe maken zij met hun werk impact bij de opdrachtgever en op de maatschappij? Vandaag ga ik op pad met Thijs. Gaan jullie mee?
Rather quick, but just to give you an idea, if you were not able to read it out, the subtitles were in English, but rather small. So what they do is they bring actually top sporters on board to coach their staff. And I think that's quite an interesting one because it's something that I feel sort of out of box, something that I would not consider to overcome the personal challenge myself. And I think that you, Laura, actually started it as well. You've got the people question, what do you apply internally? What are small things? If you don't have access to a top sport, you don't have all the connections, but what can you do in your foundation concretely right now to make sure that you overcome people challenge?
I think the culture is super important, but it's also the hardest to change and steer, right? It's very implicit, how are things done here? For example, today I'm gonna leave quite quickly after this because we're gonna have a big barbecue in the park with everyone. And I think that that's just something we also hire people, right, that then love that barbecue in the park together, where we also do like games and play charades together and stuff, more than go to like a restaurant and drink champagne, right? Like we also do that. I mean, I'm from Luxembourg, so it's like part of our culture to drink a lot of champagne. But you know, you need to just find the right people for your team, and that is people are your absolutely biggest asset. So I would really, because for example, I know Rockstar, it's like the oldest accelerator, and they try to rebrand a bit as early stage VC here. But for example, they outsource their HR very early on. I don't understand. I don't understand how you can outsource your HR, like, because you should really focus on that. And I think it's really a top priority. And also as a founder, I make sure that whatever happens, my priority is always towards talking to the team. And, you know, now at this moment, we are with 9 full-time, but in total 25 people. You know, I can still do that. I know at one point it's not feasible anymore, but you need to really prioritize that. And often also, I don't attract people, right, that join for the salary. So they need to find different ways to motivate people by giving them more ownership, letting them explore more, you know, sending them to like conferences abroad. And yeah, but you need to also be really interested in understanding people's motivation. And for me, I define also a good manager is like a chameleon, right? And I think you need to adapt to the people you manage, because everyone is motivated by different things. And if I sometimes look at how corporates see management, it's just like, okay, these are your KPIs, hit them, goodbye. Yeah, I find it really interesting. And so yeah, just the intrinsic motivation and to stimulate that is important.
Also, when you, I think one of the challenges that we just heard a couple of minutes ago as well is that you run into a situation, you shared, you got the offer to extend gift cards, so you have to be challenging yourself probably of whether you want to apply it or not. And I want to turn actually my next question to you, Murat. How does innovation actually plays a role in that, in a challenge? You're confronted with something that you don't know a way out. How can you apply methodologies from innovation management as well to overcome this challenge?
I want to combine what Clara said and also try to answer your question. I think one of the answers for your question is culture. But for mission-driven organizations, strong culture can be very dangerous too, in 2 ways. You dedicate yourself for a mission that can become so strong that turn into a straitjacket, killing any creative ideas, killing innovations and so on. Sometimes what we observe also, there are some studies showing that can turn ugly too, that you justify every terrible thing with the mission.
Yeah.
You do horrible stuff and you say we are saving the world. So the ends will justify the means, they say. So the answer here is that taking advantage of having a mission-driven culture, that you have employees who are dedicated, who are hardworking, who are smart, who are sharing your vision. And these are really hard things to find, and turn into this strength where you give some space for them to try out new things, feel free, they should feel psychologically safe to speak up, create new ideas. And since you said that, if you communicate this North Star and the innovation will flourish to fuel your startup. As one of the themes that emerged here is that it's not a straight line. So you need all these small steps, small innovations that help you to progress in your journey.
I call it theory, but maybe I can ask you one additional question, Murat. Maybe yourself personally, from your experience, private work, any. When you were stuck in a challenge, like what practical advice can you give to the audience as well when they are facing something? What do you do then? Like, there's something that helps you to overcome it straight away? Like, I don't know, for me, it's probably a cold shower.
I cry.
It's very healthy.
The answer is talking, as Katherine said. that works with me when I am stuck, but everyone is different. It's all about finding and recognizing yourself to realize what works for you. For me, it is really knock on people's door and say, I'm stuck, can you help on that?
Yeah. So dare to ask and not to do it by yourself in the self. I see you nodding. Do you want to add to that?
No, I just really love it because this is I think the beauty of it. Like you will be stuck many times, and accepting that and speaking out to people around you. Surround yourself with people with like a team who are like-minded. Find them years to rebuild the circle around me, from the corporate risk-averse people with a monthly salary and a Tesla on the list as a company, to those who are telling me I had to fire half of my staff because my investment didn't realize and something went wrong. But let's budget today, tomorrow we'll figure out. These are totally different bunch of people. Find them. They will give you golden advice. And examples how to survive after you cry. And I think another point: experiment. Don't assume. Don't build it. Make one step. Check. Does it work? No. Go back. Try something else. You will be surprised how this. Don't expect a solution that will 100% or even 50 or 20% will resolve your problem. Think about the compound interest. Let's make a 5% improvement every day, and then in a year it will result in something really impressive. Don't think about these leap jumps that you plan for a year.
See a lot of nodding heads are. You're just at the beginning of the journey. There are some around us that actually consider that journey themselves. Even if you're not considering an entrepreneurial journey today, or in your career where you really want to take up the next step, actually, maybe we can conclude this panel today with a last round of short advice, like in one sentence. What would you want to give as your one thing start today, not tomorrow, to our audience? Starting, who has an idea already in mind? Yeah,
I can start with. I think it's creating a passive income. So just don't necessarily see as I have to have this huge startup. And that was always myself. I was very ambitious. Like, I need to create this huge startup, otherwise I won't do it. I think it's also about keeping it small, as starting with something, having a passive income that brings you to something. For example, myself, as a passive income, I sell bamboo bicycles. So I just started like selling also bamboo bicycles, because entrepreneurship is a hard thing. So you don't just want to have have all your eggs in the same basket, but you also want to diversify. So I do that, I do consulting, and at the same time, I'm like being funded by this venture capital that is already giving me money, but you never know like where you're gonna end up. And also, I think it's also, as an employee, is also keeping this, like, for example, 3 or 4 days of working while you do your own startup, while you start making an income, while kind of you have a proof of concept with the customers. So, and then giving that leap, but yeah.
So not just build on one pillar.
Yeah, exactly.
And that might will yourself. Laura, any advice to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like, if you want to start your own business or explore entrepreneurship more, I think what we also mentioned today, just do something that you have a very big why you want to do that. You should really ask yourself why 5 times, right? Like, so you ask yourself, why do I want to do that? You give yourself an answer, you ask yourself, but why? Because I see so many ego-driven and externally motivated people. And then when it gets tough, they just stop. So for example, a friend of mine, he started a vegan cheese brand. He's not vegan himself, didn't really like the product. He just wants to be a founder in Amsterdam, and of course, he did 5 investment pitches, and he was 5 times told no, and he immediately stopped. So I think that, also if you cannot connect with sustainability and like that is not for you, then don't start a business in something that you don't really care about. And I think the other thing is like entrepreneurship, there are so many different levels of entrepreneurship, right? You can be a solo founder that does business on the side, then have crazy ambition to build like, a unicorn or whatever you want. So yeah, it's also not so black and white. And I think there is no right and wrong way on how to do it. And I think that's sometimes what we get taught at university, that you need to fulfill these steps. It's really not how it is out there.
Just do it. Don't dare to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
And believe in what you do. And my last advice to the audience.
You want to? I think both.
Same time. You can share. You can
Mine
share
is
the
a little bit, so we all die alone. When we are 70, 80, we all have regrets. Is not starting this startup or not doing this, not solving this problem, is it going to be a regret for you? If so, I would say, become a regret award and try to do something like that. Although we all die alone, we can solve these problems together and find with whom you can take this journey, which partners, which co-founders, which employees, try to make the world a better place together.
Nice link to your.
No, I think I think you had enough of advice, so I suggest you to take 2 very specific steps already now. Just let's do this together. So I want you to just give yourself 10 seconds and think, okay, something brought you here. So an itch to start, a dilemma, a choice, a doubt, a fear, something. Just think about that for a second. And now I want you to imagine that you wake up tomorrow with a superpower that you know that you won't fail, 100% confidence. What is the step that you will take if you get a guarantee that you won't fail? What is this step? Think about that. And you know what? Just go and take that step because you won't fail. You either win or learn.
That conducts quite well. Yeah, I see a round of applause. I think in the chat. Sharing your values and insights, also your strengths, what everyone can do straight away. We heard today a lot about what actually sustainable, what steps you have to take if you want to conduct that journey. And if you don't conduct the journey, what can you do actually in your career to or mission-driven, I would say. So with that in the pocket, actually, I want to just do a quick round, like after this session, considers now to take up an entrepreneurial journey. We have more hands up here. Like down, so to me after. And just have a nice moment of connection. I know you're all here to connect as well, so I want to give a big thank you to all of you actually coming to trying to think of, you come from different backgrounds, you might work, you could be do something about it, right? So let's take a moment after as well to build meaningful connections and not only help each other, collaborate and ask each other, but also celebrate success with each other. And that gets a nice thing to who wants to pick up the
well, just
slide.
one thing from me. So another reminder, you probably saw this slide at the end of the first session, but we are running the Distinguished Alumni Awards. We just talked about mission-driven and doing a positive change in the world. And I'm sure there's you or your fellow alumni that have done something. So please do nominate them. We want to recognize, we want to celebrate success. Johanna just mentioned, and that's important to us. So that's, and then, thank you so much for this wonderful session. Thank you, Johanna, as well, for running it.